Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Perspective Checks, where I sit down with friends and folks from the TTRPG community to talk about all the things we love, or drive us crazy, or get us excited, or make us want to dive further into this indie hole that we go down in TTRPGs. And I am very excited to be joined this week by Willow, aka the RPG Goblin, a TTRPG content creator, and has a podcast, although I know you're slowly moving away from that, but a great backlog of great conversations. Willow, thank you for coming on. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for inviting me on again. I just think this is really awesome. I haven't been on the interviewee side of many shows, so I think it's really fun to be on that side more. I'm doing great, and I'm excited because you just saying at the beginning here, talking about TTRPG stuff that you just can't get out of your head and that you want to dive into further and all of that. That's basically my entire life.
Right.
Because I swear every single time that I find a nugget of a TTRPG thing that I love, I'm like, man, this is now my personality for the next day. That was me with Land of Eam when I read the frickin' coin economy section, and I'm like, this is awesome. It was one page. So, I appreciate this as a show a lot, and I'm just really happy to be here.
Yeah, and I'm so glad, you're back after a hiatus, right?
Yes.
Having taken a little bit of time off, but you're diving right back in.
Exactly.
So I'm super excited you came on.
Exactly. I'm hyped because it's been about a year, and a year of not being able to really dive into a hobby that you love, it takes a bit of a toll on you. And I'm happy to finally be back in a place where I can get into it. So this is a great start to, again, getting back into it. So just awesome all around.
And I think we share a very similar mission statement in our just internet presence around games. So I'm very excited
to explore new TTRPGs.
Yes. So, and we're going to get to that topic in a minute, but I always open the interviews with the same 3 questions for all guests, just to kind of get to know people, and people listening can kind of get a baseline of who we're talking to. So the first question is always the simple one. How long have you been playing TTRPGs or been around the hobby?
All right, so I think I sort of did the math for it the other day because I was trying to even remember myself, how long have I been doing this? I want to say it's been for 8 or 9 years that I've been into TTRPGs, started to play them. I started off with D&D around the time that I was 13, I think. 12,
oh, wow.
13.
Okay. So veteran, really. I mean, and it's funny to say that though, but really comparatively, right?
Yeah,
I think that you do have
been a bit.
Yeah.
I started decently young, and I've had breaks in between where life stuff happened, pandemic, kind of shut down most TTRPG stuff, especially since I played in person for the majority of when I got started. But I think it's been about 8 to 9 years, and I think it's been 2 that it's been TTRPGs outside of D&D, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Because D&D was kind of the thing for such a long time. Yeah. And we'll talk about it later, about how I even got introduced to other games. But yeah, I think that's been how long it is, which is really wild to think about because that's a long time to have been playing these games. And that's really awesome.
Yeah. To be playing these games in general, right? TTRPGs. And then it's funny when you think about the progression of it and how long you played really one game. And then as soon as that door opened, like you said, 2 years. And, for those of you who can't see, it's an audio format, but both of us have shelves behind us of just
massive
books.
Very stacked shelves full of all the fun, pretty little games.
And some people it clicks when that happens. And it's one of those things that, you dive in and you just don't even look back.
And that is your whole life going forward.
So speaking of, the next question that we always ask is, what have you been playing lately?
So I actually haven't really been playing any proper TTRPG games with people, at least for the past year. Again, I've been on a hiatus for a while. I moved about a year ago. I also had a very big fallout with my last gaming group that happened around the same time. And then we moved into a house that needed a lot of renovation. And, just, it's been busy life the whole time. And I haven't really had the ability to get anything started, but I have been playing some other things. So Koriko, for example.
Yeah.
It's such a good game. I'm so happy that I backed that project, and I got the box set, and it's just gorgeous.
It's gorgeous for sure.
I wish that like every TTRPG came with like a cute little box set with all its themed dice and any little like play material that you need. Like it just makes my goblin heart so happy because like it just completes the whole experience. But I've been playing Koriko recently, and that's been really fun. That's like the second solo game that I've like properly sat down and played. And the only other things that's like been going on like the last year is I played some Cottages in Cerberus. Okay. That's a really fun, cozy monster hunting game. We did, 3 sessions of that. So nothing super long, but that's been really fun. And then I also did a small dive into Bunkers and Badasses and basically only had like 2 sessions, but it was really awesome. And that's pretty much what I've had going on like the last year. Koriko's the most recent thing and thing that I'm currently playing. And I'm hoping to actually get a game started up soon because I'm starting to get that itch again. And
Yep. Oh, I hear you. Yeah. As if I'm not busy enough. I have one home group. I have obviously my solo stuff that I'm always doing, but a local cafe just opened in my hometown, which is,
oh, heck yeah.
And like, as far as northeastern US is concerned, it's very densely populated, but I moved to like as much of the woods as I could swing. You know what I mean? So I'm in a little bit of like a desert of things to do. And this nerd cafe opened and I'm like, I gotta go there and get a game going. Like I gotta like meet some randos and just be like, I'm going to start a game and it's not D&D. Who's coming with me? You know?
Exactly. You will lead them through the woods of non-D&D TTRPGs and it will be a magical experience.
That's the dream, right? And so that segues very well to the third question we always open with, which is, what are we talking about today?
What we are talking about today, oh man, I'm really excited because we are going to be talking about exploring TTRPGs and actually like finding ones that match you. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot recently, and like the different priorities people have when they're looking at games and like figuring those out and being able to if you know like, hey, theme is something that really matters to me in a TTRPG, being able to know that matters. And when you are looking at TTRPGs, look at the ones that actually call to you immediately and not the ones that you think are just popular and things like that. So like D&D, that was one for me. That was the popular thing. I never jived really with the like fantasy stuff. That was never a genre that really was my thing, but it was just what everyone else was playing. So that's what I started to play. And so I feel very strongly about exploring new games and finding ones that actually match your desires for a game, because I think that just elevates the whole experience. And so that's what we're going to be talking about.
Heck yeah. I didn't even think about this when I was drafting, because those of you who listen know that I have to like organize everything, right? Like everything I have is like in like Google Sheets, spreadsheets, and I'm a little over the top with it all. But like when I
mean, no wonder you play solo games so well too. Like you got everything lined up.
I'm good at bookkeeping. Yeah, exactly. But when I reach out to people or when I link up with people to have on for interviews, I just have to make like bullet point lists of like, here's some ideas that like I thought might be good jumping off points, and we'll go off on tangents or whatever. I didn't even think about the fact that there's I forget who came up with it. Maybe it's Robin Laws, but there's like the types of gamers. Have you seen that thing? Right?
Yeah,
like,
I've seen that type of stuff before. Yeah,
where it's like the strategist and like, you know, like the role player and the action person, right? Like there's like 8 different types of gamers really. And like there's
I've
usually
seen that even for like game masters and stuff too.
Yeah. And you're usually like 2 of them, right? But I didn't think about that and how much that really does play into something like finding the RPGs that either because I'm these and I like this, therefore I'm not going to like D&D because I don't care about min-maxing and you know, the numbers, right? Or because something might surprise you that you didn't realize is right up your alley. And all you needed to do was look and, you know, and see something new. But that's very cool.
That's why I think like experimenting and just like going out and just finding some games, and whether it be reading them or watching other people play them or listening to other people play them or play them yourself, like, I think it's so important to start experimenting with games that are outside of your comfort zone and things that will, I don't know, if it seems interesting enough for you to pick up, then I think it's interesting enough to play and see if it's something that jives with you. Especially because I don't think a lot of people really think about what is my play style when it comes to TTRPGs. Like, there are things out there that are, you know, these are the 8 different types of players, player archetypes and things like that. But not everyone.
Take this quiz.
But like, not everyone knows about that, and not everyone even thinks about it as this says something about what you enjoy about games. You know, if you really love the storytelling elements and you love having downtime in TTRPGs and exploring those interpersonal relationships and building up maybe like a base of operations and like really getting into those aspects, you might not love D&D. You might like Wander Home.
Right. Stewpot, not OSR,
Stewpot.
right?
Yes. I literally just bought Stewpot yesterday. I am so freaking excited.
It's insane.
I just remembered that it's happening.
It's time for cozy, right? Like, let's go.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it made me think of another thing just now too with, you said, just pick up new games and either try them. Obviously, not everybody has the opportunity to sit at a table. You know, maybe you go to a convention and you just go, I'm going to give it a shot. But like, there's problems with that, right? Like, you might sit at a table where you're like, this isn't even about the game. It's about the people or what have you. You feel uncomfortable with whatever. But there's a lot of value to just reading a game. And I think you said that, like,
I agree.
Just read it, right?
Yeah.
Just read it. And you might, a light bulb might go off, right?
That is actually funny enough. That is what happened with me when it came to getting introduced to TTRPGs outside of D&D. So I played D&D for the longest time. That was most of my play experience. I played in several longer term campaigns, one shots, whatever. I've run stuff. I had other people run stuff, etc. And also part of my TTRPG experience was listening to the Adventure Zone. That was what kind of really got me started, like, knowing what TTRPGs were, because I never had anyone around me that, like I didn't have family that played it for a while or any cool cousins that played it or anything like that. Like, my experience was my brother listening to the Adventure Zone, finding a local game, and then I'm like, that kind of sounds interesting. So I listened to the podcast. Ooh, this is fun. And then I joined that. So it was something that kind of happened a lot more spontaneously. And I loved the first campaign where they play D&D. And then I loved the second campaign where they played Monster of the Week. And they did
Amnesty,
Amnesty.
Underrated.
I love Amnesty. And so when I listened to that Amnesty for the first time, I did not comprehend that it was a different game. Because in my eyes, it was like, oh yeah, you know, TTRPGs are, you know, that's just D&D. Like, that's
roll
just
20, add number, right?
Yeah, or like you decide a different die. Okay, fine, cool, whatever. Like, awesome. I didn't really understand the fact that there were different games that had different systems and that it was actually laid out differently, like that they were actually different. So
provide very different experiences, right? Like, by design.
And so at one point I decided, okay, what is this Monster of the Week game? Because like, it clicked when I was re-listening to it, where like, okay, this is actually different. I found Monster of the Week online. I wasn't even sure if I was finding the right book. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but this sounds like what it is. I'm going to order it, and then I'm just going to, I don't know, check it out. Like, it seems like a cool game. I like Supernatural. I like Monster of the Week shows. Like, that's fun. Yeah. And I read it. And I'm not normally a huge reader. I don't tend to like fiction books, but nonfiction has always been something that's been easier for me to consume. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm really gonna like this. We'll see. And I sat down on Reddit for the first time, and it blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God. Everything in this game is something that I have never seen before. So like, there's just the amazement of that. And then also realizing all of these mechanics, like, feed into telling these very specific stories about hunting monsters and trying to like really create that vibe and environment for the players and the GM to tell those stories. And like, not to say that like, Monster of the Week has like flaws in itself, just like any game does.
Yeah.
But like, it was it was my first experience of like reading a game and realizing this is a whole new thing that is designed to tell stories differently than what I am used to. Mm-hmm. And I'm used to like people hacking D&D to tell anything that they want. Yeah. And while you can do that, if you love D&D as a system and you jive with that and it's just your preferred method of play, perfectly fine. I think it's fun. I don't hate D&D. It's just not the thing that I want to play when it comes to,
almost anything else.
Yeah, like if you're like, hey, let's run it, like, hey, let's play a game, I'm gonna try and lobby for anything else. But
but also, I mean, like, it depends, because like, we're gonna get into this where there is a huge subset of people who just don't realize, right, that there's a different game, right? Mm-hmm. Or
that was where I was for a very long time.
Right. Or that the different games are not as monumental of a challenge to learn as 5e, so they're afraid to try new games, right? Yep. But also, we'll get into this a little more, but this is a little preview of something I'm going to talk about more later, which is like, I've had friends who are so deep in that D&D walled garden effect of like, this is what it is, that it was so funny to me that they were like, I have this idea for this sorcerer and like, I already have everything planned out. Like, I know what their levels and my choices are going to be all the way up to like level 8 or whatever. And it was like, okay. And like, as a DM for D&D, I was like, okay, I can like pave that road for you. Yeah. Right. But then I tried to explain to them like PBTA, Monster of the Week, Apocalypse World, Thirsty Sword Lesbians, whatever you want. The playbooks do something that I'm surprised D&D doesn't do with its classes, which is kind of set you up on this very specific track, right? Like, you are going to experience a very specific story related to that playbook. Like, and granted, everybody who plays that playbook is kind of going down the same path, but it's obviously going to be very different, right?
Yeah, because it depends on what that game even is going to look like. Like, what is your monster hunting game versus someone else's monster hunting game?
Every professional is going to kind of play the same, but the specifics are going to make it what shines.
Exactly.
And it's really funny how I've had a friend like bounce off of PBTA because they were just like, I don't like how much this is pigeonholing me into like this very specific thing. And I was like, dude, you planned your sorcerer out for 8 levels. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you pigeonholed yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so anyway, just kind of funny though.
I've definitely seen that as a criticism of like Powered by the Apocalypse and stuff, and a lot of like playbook based like systems, because like, I don't have all of this flexibility and like, I want to be able to do anything I want. And like, again, I think that comes to what do you value as, like, what do you value in games? What are you looking for in games? And what are the things that you enjoy in games? And knowing that, hey, flexibility and having a lot of different options is something that's very important to you. So Powered by the Apocalypse might not be anything that you will enjoy because it's not something that's going to really like connect with you and your play style. And something like D&D where, I mean, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of subclasses and a lot of things like that. I feel like there's ways that even can be very limiting personally.
Agreed. Yeah.
But like, you could go, exactly. But like, you then may find that Pathfinder is more up your alley, which is in that similar genre, but a different take on it. You may find that like Fate or, Cortex and things like that may be, or, Cypher is the one I was wanting to say, maybe more up your alley if you find that you want a lot of options and the ability to really tell any story, and you just kind of want to also have those options be narrative too, and like tie in narratively, like that's gonna connect with you more than maybe like, Powered by the Apocalypse.
As a huge PBTA stan, I will say that I feel like I could sit down with a player who is like, I feel like I'm really like stuck in here, and be like, the wonderful thing about this game and this whole engine is that like really it's narrative first, right? Yeah. Like, you don't have to engage with like, I had a conversation with somebody, or I saw something about this where basically there's like a difference between certain kinds of games where like for D&D, the answer to the obstacle is always on your sheet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're always going to look and be like, well, I have to either use one of these skills or I have to use one of my attacks or I have to use one of my spells.
I have this spell, this thing.
The answer is on your sheet. And like, if you came up with something that you just wanted to do in the narrative and like explain something, the game kind of pushes against you because you are going to have to choose one of those things on your character sheet.
And also usually the options for just doing a random narrative thing are always going to be way worse than what is just on your sheet. So in the long run, it's not always going to be like actually worth doing that. Like it's not going to be worth grabbing this chair and throwing it at this guy when you could just like whack him with your sword. Like it's always going to suck, which is something that like, you know, I've felt the combat can be very limiting because of that, because it's like, okay, I hit with sword, I shoot off this spell. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny. And like, and again, just to show the other side of that coin, like with something more freeform and narrative like PBTA, you have your moves which trigger on very specific, when you do this very specific thing, this happens.
Yep.
But the beauty of it is that like you can just come up with something in the narrative and then be like, okay, like we're going to roll just 2d6 plus a stat and it's going to be fine. But when I saw one time, I think it was, this is the second time I've brought up Abria Iyengar. She's coming for me if she ever listens to someone as small as I am. But like, and to be fair, huge fan of her GMing style and all this stuff. But like at one point she gave advice on like a Dimension 20 thing or something where she was like, I made a flow chart of like what my character does in combat under certain circumstances.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that even fun anymore? You know what I mean? Like you really are just like consulting a flow chart to be like, what's my most optimal move? That's not fun storytelling. That's just like, let's break this encounter and then move on to our more freeform improv again, because that's what you do well.
Yeah.
And you're stuck in this framework of D&D combat.
It's just trying to best the combat, get it done as quickly as possible so that you don't have to be like just, you know, playing around for forever and you get to the part that you actually want to play. Which is like,
you could be playing a different game.
Yeah, well, you could be playing something else to where like, that's the whole point. Like, you know, and I've had many times where I've run combat or, you know, just like perilous encounters in other systems, and I've had a 4-hour combat session in D&D before, but I will tell you what, I have not had a 4-hour session of combat in Monster of the Week.
Never. Right? That would be, I don't even know how you could physically do that. Like
you would just do it like one after another, and guess what? It ends when people die because resources are limited.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I find that there's a lot of, like, I feel like I see that a lot when people talk about playing D&D, because I've seen other people do that, make a flow chart or make, sheets, or like, this is my move list of like, if this happens, I do this because that's the best option. Well, there can be a fun aspect to like really figuring out the game there, like figuring out the game of like the cool thing and the most optimal thing to do to get this done as fast. That can be fun. But I feel like a lot of people do it so that, you know, they know what to do when that comes because they do want to get to the next thing. And that does make me a little sad sometimes because, like, if you feel like you kind of have to do all of this work to make a pretty large aspect of the game more enjoyable for you, it feels like you shouldn't be playing that game. And then it can get difficult, like you said, where it comes to a lot of people don't really want to play any other game. And so even if like one person's like, man, I really don't enjoy this because I have to put all this work into combat just to make it a little bit enjoyable, and you suggest to play something else, if everyone else doesn't agree, well, there's not a lot that you can do to get out of that, unless you just find a whole new group, which means then finding people that you're comfortable playing with and, you know, that work with you and you all have similar goals when it comes to your gaming wants and all of that. So
that's the beauty of being the GM, where you just go, you guys want to play a game? Cool. Show up. And I'm telling you, we're playing this game. Like you don't have,
that's what I literally did.
Right. And I don't disagree that I think that, and there are certainly types of gamers, right, that enjoy that puzzle aspect of the combat, right? But it also makes it feel like there's a right choice all the time. And that does make it feel a little worse, right? Where you can be a little more freeform.
I found that in D&D to be something that I disagreed with when, like, especially I was even just starting out. we were playing in a campaign where like we were fighting against devils and stuff, and like I picked a character subclass. I was playing a druid at the time, and I decided to go Circle of Spores, so necrotic damage and things like that. And that's
just
not
completely
very
useless. Yeah.
Yep, not very useful. And that's like something I ran into D&D where I felt just kind of completely stuck because we were far enough in the game that I couldn't switch what I was doing. And I wasn't made aware beforehand that this was going to be a thing because we were playing Waterdeep Dragon Heist. And so there's different bad guys that you could go into. And so you just kind of see where you go. And that's just where we ended up going. But like, it just felt this was the wrong choice.
Yeah.
Because now I'm basically put in a position where I'm useless like half of the time because like we're fighting up against these devils. And I was like, cool, I'll use like all of my less optimal stuff and never use my class abilities because it's never going to be useful. And that's, you know, while there are times in other TTRPGs where an ability may not be useful or may not be relevant and stuff like that, I just don't always feel like it's as punished. And like, you know, you can't do anything. You have to do all of these suboptimal things. Like they'll be like, yeah, this isn't the like best choice. So you're going to roll at disadvantage or, you know, maybe have something really bad happen, but it's something you can still do it and you can at least still try. Or there's other options because you aren't tied to just this subclass. That is the thing that makes your character interesting because you have other options outside of that.
Yeah, that reminds me of a discussion I had with Star from Characters Out Stories. We did an episode on failure, and her big like aha moment for failure and like why she branched into other RPGs was just the binary success fail of D&D feels really bad. And when you learn that there are other games out there that are like, yeah, failure, but fail forward, and or also like every success can even come with complications. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like there's this gradient of like you're always moving forward, but there might be new obstacles in your way. Whereas in D&D, like nothing feels worse than being like, roll to do this thing. Oh, I rolled like a 2, and the GM just goes, okay, never mind. Okay, never mind, and like just no feels so bad.
That really gets me. And that's maybe even something that I didn't even realize that pushed me towards other games more is that I was playing this D&D one shot. And I was playing a spellcaster. I was doing a wizard, I think. And that was the first time I was playing a full spellcaster before. And it was just for this, it wasn't even a one shot. It was like a 5 shot. I don't know. It went on forever, but it was fun. And we fought against a big bad with like legendary resistance.
That's exactly what she talked about. She was like that and like saves, right? Like it's just, there's no middle ground.
And to have it like, okay, you know, you get off this spell, you think you got it, to then have the DM just say, nope.
No.
And as the spellcaster, when like your only thing you can really do is cast the one spell during that round, and then it's like, okay, that didn't go off. I guess I will just sit here for like 10 minutes until it's my next turn, and then we will go from there. And then to sometimes even have that happen again. Can be very annoying. I definitely found that to be a moment in playing D&D where I'm like, okay, nope, I don't like how this works. And that is why tiered success systems, wow, that's weird to say right after. Tiered success systems are my beloved. I love them so much. That's why Powered by the Apocalypse has called to me. That's why I've found a lot of like, okay, this is really awesome. I love that so much. And that's also why I love Land of Eam, because they expand on that even more and have, I don't know, they have like 7 different like levels of success / failure that you can get. And I think it's awesome because each thing has its own plus or minus. You know, you have success with a twist, but then failure with a plus. So you have it like kind of on both ends, and that's really fun. But it just like adds more to the games. And I think a lot more games actually give you that variety and give you more options, that it's not just, okay, you fail, next person. And I found that to be a really tough thing, which I think also is why combat can be really slow and hard to get through. Because it's like, oh yeah, okay, cool, this hit. Now you wait. And then, oh cool, this doesn't hit. you wait. And then like, it's just like, it's a waiting game the whole time on whether or not it's a yes or a no. So yeah, it's rough.
And this segues into a point that I wrote down here to talk about. And I think it works well. Is like a lot of times people will notice this is a problem, right? And they'll go, I can homebrew that. And then homebrew gets a little out of control. And then somebody's like, well, we just finished a campaign and now I have a whole new idea for I'm going to run D&D and I'm going to run it in the world of like my favorite TV show or like my favorite books. And I'm going to like write this thing and it's going to be like really interesting, but I'm going to use 5e for it. And I've like done all this work and you're just sitting there going, there's literally a game that is so perfect for you. There's like, please listen to me and just take this other game and try it. And they go, no, I don't know. I don't want to learn that game because I've done so much work for this.
The amount of times that I've seen people like, oh, I really want to do like a Call of Cthulhu game, but in D&D. I'm like, dude, it's right there. It's right there. And it's also only like 2 books max that you have to get versus D&D. You need at least 3 to run a proper game.
And now hear me out. Or if they're like, oh, but I don't want to play Call of Cthulhu because that's too punishing or whatever, because like then like I'm never going to have more than 12 hit points and like Cthulhu eats 4d6 people like per turn. It's like, well, 1, don't go up against Cthulhu. Like that's absolutely insane of you. But 2, Pulp Cthulhu is right there.
That's true.
To be like, oh, do you want to beat up Eldritch Horrors? Cool, this game exists, but you're still gonna die a lot. You know
because like man, there's so many like different paths, even just in different games. So like you have like Call of Cthulhu, for example. There's like Octung Cthulhu is one. Cthulhu. I had like a play thing of it, a quick start thing of it on my shelf that I got. Like there's all kinds of different paths, even just in like going down one specific genre of game. And I think that's so much fun when it comes to TTRPGs. And that's like where it's fun when it comes to like the really, genre non-specific ones. You have Fate, but then you have Cortex, and then you have Cypher. Like you have all of these things that like, if you don't agree with one, there are other options that you can go down. Even in the monster hunting realm, I have Vaesen, I have Bump in the Dark, I have Monster of the Week, I have Cottages in Cerberus. These are 4 different monster hunting games that have 4 different vibes, but at its core, they're monster hunting games. And so if you're looking for...
But they all feel very different.
Exactly.
They really do, right? Yeah. Yeah. Even in, I mean, I don't talk enough about generic systems. I'm kind of lukewarm on them. Like I've played a little bit of Fate. I have basic role playing, which is like the Call of Cthulhu D100 version of like, and I even made a game as like part of like a design challenge that Chaosium was doing with BRP that I was like,
oh, that's fun.
I like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I haven't released it because it needs a little more work, but, but it's even in that, like within that, genre or not genreless, it is kind of genreless, settingless, whatever it is, very agnostic, but within BRP it's like you can play, there's like 4 power levels, right? It's like normal humans like Cthulhu where like you're not going to have anything special about you, you're just playing normal humans. There's like gifted, you know what I mean, like so like minor powers, then there's like mutant superpowers, and then there's like play a superhero game. That's just using fun. this same engine. Yeah. And it makes it really interesting. And what's cool is you can learn one mode of mechanics, like one set of mechanics, and apply it in a lot of different fields. But I'm personally somebody who's like you said, like, give me lean into theme, right? Like give me lean into vibe hard. Like if you're setting out to achieve this thing and provide this experience, I want you to go hard and provide the best version of that experience as possible and not worry about me trying to do something else with it. You know what I mean?
I want to lock into this one thing. I absolutely agree. What do you think would be like, in your opinion, what do you think is the most vibe heavy TTRPG that you have?
Ooh, good question. I almost pause for it. I'm going to put like the elevator music here for a second and turn around. I got 2 that I think are super vibes heavy and are like, you're going to do this one thing. Actually, you know what? I'm going to add 3, but 2 of them are from the same company. So we're going to roll it in together. One is Good Society. a Jane Austen RPG.
Oh yes, Good Society is so
right?
great.
Like, so like, oh, you know what? I'm making it 4, but I'm doing 2 companies, right? 2 companies excel at this. Okay. So one is Story Brewers, who does Good Society. Cause like, there's no way you're doing something with that system that isn't
Jane
Regency,
Austen. Yep.
Yeah. Regency, love match. You know what I mean? Like interpersonal relationships, letter writing. You know what I mean? Like it does this thing. They also put out a game called Fight with Spirit, which is like a sports anime TTRPG. And it's like, you literally can't do anything else with this. But like the vibes are immaculate.
Every time that I do stuff like this, it
always
means that like, okay, I'm bringing that up on the second screen and I now want this.
Yeah. And guess what? It's going to hit on one of your big check marks, which is it comes in a box with all the nice fancy things with it. Yeah.
You are making my day right now. Heck yeah.
The other company that I will say you go to for vibes and you stay because it's not just vibes, it's well done, is Rowan, Rook, and Deckard.
Yes.
So Heart and Spire, those games are very specifically, you're doing this one thing.
Read through those. I have digital versions. I tend to like to go through the physical books a lot. So like I tend to just lean towards like getting those because I know I'll read them. But like, man, I've heard such amazing things. Oh, look at that book. This
is my answer. Is Eat the Reich. Okay. Eat the Reich is my answer for vibes. It is like a 60-page book, right? Mm-hmm. But you are only doing one thing. Like it is every time you play it, you're playing with the same pre-gen vampires. You are playing in the same Nazi occupied Paris and you are going to drink Nazi blood. Okay. Like you can't tell me that's not just all it is vibes. Yeah. That's all it is.
It tells you exactly what it's going to be right out of the box. Yeah. And I think that is so, I know there's a lot of people who don't like that. Or I shouldn't say a lot of people. I know there are some people who don't like that. Right. But I think it's so much fun to have a TTRPG that lures you in with the pure vibes, and then you can like fall in love with it for the mechanics and the way that it works and like how it plays and all of that. But like if you pull me in with vibes, you have my heart already. And it was really funny because I got a comment on a video that I had on TikTok where I was talking about Land of Eam. I love Land of Eam. That's a game that makes me very happy. That's a very vibe heavy one. It's whimsical fantasy. Muppets meets Lord of the Rings. Ridiculous little guy shenanigans. Fun, whimsy fantasy. I love it. And so that one brought me in with the vibes. And so when I do like short form TikTok videos and stuff where I like to do like a little introduction to a game and like show it off to people, spotlight it, etc.
Yes, which is so good, right?
I love doing it that way because for most people, the vibes is what gets them. The vibes are such an important thing. And so that's how I always approach like introducing other people to games of like, here's the vibe. Here's a touchstone that you can connect with first, and then you can like get yourself into the game. Cause I feel like that's so much easier. But I had someone comment and they said vibes don't make the game or aesthetics don't make the game. Cause I was talking about how the art's great and like the whole theme of it's great. And I love it. And I'm like, okay, I don't think that, I don't think just vibes can make a game. I think there are some, I think mechanics for me, I do like the mechanical aspects of TTRPGs. That's something I have a lot of fun with. And I feel like they have a very heavy weight in the game because like they're basically everything you're engaging with when you're playing it.
Right.
However, aesthetics and vibes are an incredibly important part of TTRPGs. And like, if it doesn't look cool and sound cool, I don't want to read it or play it because it's not painting a picture in my head. It's not giving me ideas and inspiration as soon as I see it. And I think that's where kind of like circling back to the, genre agnostic, systems and stuff. That's where I think it loses a lot of people because there isn't anything concrete about it. It's a system that's very concrete, but like, you're not reading through the book and getting an idea. This is how heist, like these are how heist stories work. Like when I'm reading through Blades in the Dark, I understand how heist stories work. And I go and watch a movie that's a heist story and I'm like, that's literally this mechanic and this mechanic and this mechanic. Like I love doing that. And like it paints that picture in your head. And aesthetics are just so important. And there's some that have super strong ones that then have very simple systems that go along with it that also are fantastic. Yeah, that was mostly a tangent on my end because
No, you bring up a very good point where I think there's almost like a gradient, right? If you think of like, if you had a game, think of like a 0 to 100 scale, right? 0 is mechanics only and 100 is vibes only, right? If you were buying a 0, which is a lot of those system or setting agnostic games, they are relying so much on the players and GM to provide those vibes that the mechanics better be able to handle whatever you throw at them, right?
I think that's a good way to say it, yeah.
The other side of that scale, 100% vibes, is, you know, without mechanics, we're just playing make-believe. And there's nothing that's going to create drama or create suspense or create whatever you're trying to do. So you need mechanics, however light they may be or however involved they might be, that reinforce those vibes.
Yes.
So the story actually gets to where you want it to go in unexpected ways, right? Because again, if I was playing a game where you're like, we're playing this and like, here's the setting and here's the vibes and here's why I love it so much. And like, look at these pictures. Like you can just tell what's going to happen. But if we sat down and even in that space, sat down at a table and rolled a game and the whole time it was just like, we just know everything that's going to happen, you know, and nothing challenges us or like, you know, nothing makes us think like, oh, that's even better than I thought because I rolled this thing that just so happens to have changed how I totally think about this whole thing.
Yeah.
Then, you know, it's not as good a game as it could be.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like when you play pretend, like you're always going to think of the biggest, better thing that's going to beat whatever just happened because like you want to come up on top and stuff like that. And I mean, that's actually something that's interesting that I feel like there's a lot of people who don't understand solo games because they're just like, you could just write a story. Like, why don't you just like become a writer or something like that? But that's not what I want. I want to not have to think so far ahead. I don't want to think about this is how the story's going to go. I want to be surprised by prompts and situations that just occur, and in a very specific setting, in a very specific like place, in a very specific world, like whatever it may be. I want to play a game and I want to be able to still have those elements of surprise and not knowing and being able to engage in it and build that world like a piece by piece as you do in like a TTRPG as a group. But in a solo setting instead of in a group setting. And that's why, you know, solo games exist. But I always think it's really funny when people are like, just write a book.
I literally have an interview coming out very shortly with another solo podcaster where that was our entire topic. Was he was like, I am a writer. Like he is a writer. And he was like, but when I'm sitting down to write my stories and like write my fiction, I'm in a very different mind space than when I'm sitting down to play a TTRPG. And he's like, but I've actually kind of married the two where like, I know the story I want to write, but anytime I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, like as the writer, I think this would be interesting. He actually sits down and he grabs his dice and he plays out the scene in a solo game to be like, what unexpected things have I not thought about or what could make this more interesting? Because there's two things I want to say. One is, as much as I love solo games, and we've been talking about this, you know, if we were playing just pure make-believe, you know, you're always going to think about the best thing and like you're always going to come up with something better. But I also think that if you're sitting down at a table and you're sitting down with people you trust to guide a story together, you can throw out an idea and 3 people hearing that idea will ask a question or provide an idea on top of your idea that will change it in such better ways that it's like, that's kind of what solo games do with oracles, right? Yeah, it's just like, I have this idea. Let me roll to make sure that it's like what's going to happen. Then you're like, oh, it's not. And oh, it's so much better, right? To come up with a very bad metaphor, you know, like writing a book is building scaffolding to build a building. Playing a solo game is climbing scaffolding and not knowing which board is going to actually slip and you're going to fall. And then you hit a bunch of things on the way down and you're like, oh, how did I get here? You know what I mean?
That's a great way to say it.
Yeah. So
I think that's a really good way, especially of putting it. Like literally the solo game is like the collaboration. Like you don't have people around usually. I mean, like if you're playing a solo game, you're usually playing it on your own. But you don't have other people around to bounce off ideas. You don't have a GM or a guide there to be presenting these new situations that you never would have put your character in. And like, I haven't really thought about it that way, but it absolutely connects as you said that, of like the oracles and the solo game and the mechanics itself and in the prompts is literally just that. It's gamifying like collaboration and unexpected ideas that you would normally get in group play, but now in solo.
And like we were just saying, I mean, like if we were sitting at a table with people and I was like, I have this idea, and someone was like, yeah, but what if? And someone else is like, oh, and when you're doing it solo, you know, the person who wrote the game is like, here's a prompt, or like roll 2 dice and come up with an oracle, and like here's some random words to like just inject what ifs. You know what I mean? That's what they're doing. And the best part is, like, they wrote this book, they put it out, and they have no idea what someone else is coming into that prompt or coming into that oracle roll doing. So it's almost like, you know, it's just them being there for you to be like, hey, before you go any further, like, let me just mess with you a little bit, you know. And it's great to see where things come, because I can say this as a solo podcaster who does a lot of actual plays with solo stuff. If you told me where any of my campaigns would end when I was starting them, I'd be like, I don't know how I would ever possibly get there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Because who knows what happens? And I think that's the beauty of TTRPGs just in general. Like, you start off this game not really knowing who your character is yet, not really knowing what the game is yet, what the story is yet, and then you go on a journey to find where it goes and where it ends, and like, you know, how your characters grow over all this time. And like, a solo game does that just as much as a group game will. And so I love it. But
also, this is all the more reason to play other games, right? Because like, if you've played like I did, I mean, like, I want to say I started playing TTRPGs in like 2010, 2011, something like that. And it was like, I don't think I picked up a different game for like 6 years, something like that. Like you, like, you know what I mean? Like, there was a long time. And it was like, by the time I was starting like my 4th D&D campaign, it was like, you know what the progression of these characters looks like. Even if the campaign is different, even if the setting is different, even if you're doing different things with it, you kind of know how your progression is going to go. And don't get me wrong, some tables will play much more like big actual plays where there's a lot of like role-playing scenes and like a lot more interpersonal development and a lot more social scenes and stuff like that. But really, that's not what the game, the mechanics are doing for you. Like, that's not what the progression of those games look like. But if you play a different game where those things do matter, like play Delta Green, one of the things you have to do in that game is come up with connections, right? Like, you have bonds to the outside world. Like, as you're going crazy, learning about the horrible, horrible things that lie in secret, the government is keeping secret from the rest of the world, you can project your craziness that's happening onto those bonds, and you lose tethers to reality, right? Like, that's not something you can mechanically do in another game. Do you know what I mean? Like, and those scenes have to happen. There are home scenes where you check in and go, hey, person who's been you know, experimenting and like experiencing the cosmic unknown and the horrors of the world, your mom needs you to come move a couch. You know what I mean? And like, you got to go to your mom's house and you're like, Mom, I'm dealing with like terrible things right now. And then your mom's like, you hurt my feelings. And you're like, oh, damn it. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
I'm literally going through the biggest existential crisis known to man.
Right. But you know, so like all the more, and that's just one example, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even within the
Apocalypse keys, and even just the Brindlewood Bay systems in general, but Apocalypse keys, like the fact that like you are a like harbinger of doom to bring the apocalypse, and like you play this game, and throughout the game you are basically playing tug of war with like your human side and your monster side, and when you take big risks and you do moves that bring you closer to being a monster, there's mechanics in that game that actually represent that. You get closer to the darkness. You get closer to these like monstrous feelings and monstrous things that you can't control anymore. And like, I can't think of a D&D equivalent to something like that because that's what that game is. That's what the game like, those are the stories that it's telling. And so that's what it does in the game. And it has the mechanics to then support that, which is why I just love finding games that have mechanics that actually support the stories. Like,
yes, exactly, right?
I love that so much because, again, it just helps reinforce those ideas and reinforce those themes that you want, because you decided, I want to play a story where I'm someone fighting between my human and my monster side. That is the story that I want to play or that I want to experience. So then finding a game that does that for you, that's going to be a completely different play experience than if you tried to do that in D&D. And while you could do a similar type of character and a similar type of theme, it's going to play out differently because the mechanics don't support it in, you know, the way that Apocalypse Keys does. Yes. And so that's why it's awesome to experiment with other games and see what they actually have to offer for you and your stories and the way that it feels to play them. I love it. I love these games.
Okay, I have a question. We obviously, I think a lot of people who are listening to this podcast are going to be just nodding their heads the entire time through this episode, going like, "Yeah, yep, yes." But here's a logistics question that unfortunately, you find a super cool new RPG and you're so excited about it. Then you got to sell it to the people you play with and schedule it and whatnot. And ideally, you've hyped it up to people and been like you do on TikTok, right? You're like, hey, this game is cool. Here's why it's cool. Here's a touchstone. If you like these things, you might like this game. But getting people to sit down at a table and be like, trust the process, right, is kind of hard when they're so used to it playing out in a certain way. Do you have any advice for people on like how to not just get people on board, but like get them excited?
So there's a few different things that at least I did when it came to introducing some new people to TTRPGs outside of D&D specifically. Like they were already playing D&D and were super into them. This was a few different friends and different groups and all of that. So first thing that I would recommend is trying out like one-page / one-shot systems first.
Yeah.
Because that is super low commitment. That is, you can create a character in 5 minutes. It is literally going to last one game. So if you find that you don't like it, it doesn't last for much longer. And if you find that you do, you can explore other things that may be of a similar vibe.
Yeah.
It's also super easy to run. So as a GM, to start introducing people to other games and not wanting to put in all this work to learn the system to then have it maybe fall through. All you have to do is like, I don't know, 10 minutes of prep, and then boom, you can play this game and run it for people, without like any commitment. So like actually did like a whole video the other day on this that I hope to have uploaded at some point. But I think one-page RPGs are a super strong tool to start introducing people to games outside of D&D. I have done this with one of my play groups before where they never played a game outside of D&D. And I'm like, all right, let's play Honey Heist. We played Honey Heist. They loved it and felt even more open to trying something new. And that's where you just start. I almost just view it as like baby steps. All right, so we do this, maybe then something like a Morkborg or Into the Odd or, something that's shorter, not super mechanically robust as some other games may be, taking that as the next step. How does that feel? How do people like playing it? And, obviously finding the vibes of whatever people want. And then you can start taking that next step. If you find that people are still excited about other games and it's something that, everyone seems to be on board with, then you can start going to something like, let's say Call of Cthulhu, where that is going to take a little bit more time to learn, more commitment to really like appreciate and play the system.
Yeah.
And sometimes even more monetary
commitment from the people at the table.
Because you need to buy these books and stuff. So like that's like honestly, when I've thought about introducing people to games outside of D&D, that's immediately where my mind goes of this is a stepping stone. One-page RPGs to then getting to a place where you can play something longer and just seeing how that feels.
I love that. And I haven't, I've made a one-page RPG. I play a lot of one-page RPGs. I like that's actually, I started a work group Like we play at lunch at my
love
work
it.
and my table started with 3 people who saw me when I like first started like prepping like a D&D campaign. They walked into the lunchroom. They were like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, like I'm prepping a D&D thing that I'm running later. And they were like, oh, interesting. Can we play that? And I was like, no, like not at lunch because like we have like 45 minutes and we'll never get anything done. But I have another game we can play.
Yeah.
And it started with me and 3 people and it's up to 10 players and me
Oh,
right now.
that's
It's
so
crazy.
fun.
And every once in a while, it's like, you know, we either have too many people to like make anything happen or whatever. And I just like pass out like one page RPGs. And like, you're so right because it's so easy to be like, this is very little commitment.
Mhm.
Try it, love it, hate it. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like it's 45 minutes of your life in my case for lunch, but like 2 hours of your night with your friends or whatever.
And half the time they're also free to get to, like Honey Heist. Like you don't really like, you can just print it out or just have a PDF of it. Cool. We play. Like it's so easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just go get one of those many itch bundles. But that's then you're sending somebody down like a rabbit hole. We'll get there.
I love itch bundles. Itch bundles feed my obsession.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really great. I've never thought to think and talk about those more because obviously when you're doing APs or you're hyping things up, you know, you want to tell people about something that they can latch onto and enjoy. But 1-page RPGs are so good for just dipping your toe in.
Exactly.
That's so good.
And like they're fun. Like I've played Honey Heist like 2 times. I would like to play it a lot more, but like both times were very different. They were very goofy. They were ridiculous. We had a polar bear commit vehicular manslaughter in the first one, as one does. And like it's fun and easy and great, but another thing that I also want to say for getting people into like to try other games and actually like hyping them up and you know, starting to just introduce them to it. I find also trying to find a really strongly themed TTRPG that matches with some sort of theme or genre that most of your players like. So for example, when in one of my groups, we were playing D&D at the time and I was starting to get into other games and I'm like, I really want to start getting people into other games. And I read Kids on Brooms.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Great game, you know, Harry Potter, very large touchstone for that, but also the Owl House. The Owl House, magical, you know, kids going to school and fighting against these grander powers and bad guys and all of that. It's very similar. And so, my friends / my siblings who I was playing with were super into Owl House at the time. And so I read that and I'm like, I could do like an Owl House themed thing. And my one friend was super opposed to trying games outside of D&D at the time. Just like, this is the game I know. I don't want to play anything else. No. And I'm like, all right, what if I run a Owl House themed game in Kids on Brooms? Like, just as a pitch, how does that sound? And because that was something like everyone loved at the time, everyone's like, oh yeah, that would be awesome. Like they didn't even really have a second thought about the system because they wanted to play that game so badly that it was almost a no-brainer to them. And so we did a session 0 to, you know, go over the mechanics and stuff like that, ease them into it, introduce them to the game because it's not something they're familiar with. It uses a different dice system and mechanics are widely different. Do a session 0. Then we played the game. And that person who was very anti, like, other TTRPGs was like, when can we play, like, the next one, basically? I want to play more. Like, this was awesome. This was a great game. Like, this was, like, so much fun when they were basically just a D&D stan. Like, they could not, like, move past it. And so, for me, I think like finding a really strong theme and a genre story or just something that you can latch onto and recreate in a game that you have, or, you know, find a game for it that also works. But doing that, I feel like is another good way to start introducing people, into other TTRPGs, because then you're feeding into exactly what they're interested in, which, you know, kind of applies like when I introduce a game to introduce games to people, I go for vibes and genre and, you know, aesthetics, because that is the strongest touchstone for us. That is the strongest, like, it again paints that picture in your head. people fall in love with shows and media and games because of the way it makes them feel. And that is something that's very then special to them. And so if you can offer an experience that's going to be similar to what they love, I feel like it's a lot easier for people to start to step out of that comfort zone because you're promising them something that they know that they already enjoy.
Yeah, you've set the expectations.
Which maybe puts the expectations a little high of like then having to deliver.
Sure, but also they know they know what they're playing in.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They know it's a TTRPG. We're gonna mess around and we're gonna it's not gonna be exactly how you imagine. Like any D&D game, we're gonna be like these fantasy heroes and save the world. There's plenty of shenanigans. It doesn't go the way you think it will, and people know that.
All right. Well, we've passed the 1 hour mark, so I'm going to start segueing us towards a close. Speaking of games going how you think they'd go, and or not, I do have one question before I move to closing questions, which is, how's your Koriko game going?
So I haven't played in a little bit just because life busy. I've had a big weekend trip that I had to do recently and just, life. But it's actually going super well. So Koriko is like the longest solo game that I've played so far. The only other one has been Over the Mountain, which I played like a few days in, and then I'm like, I just couldn't commit to sitting down each time with it. But Koriko I've played for a lot longer, and I have arrived in Koriko just very recently. And I'm starting to kind of flesh out what Koriko looks like and is in my world, which I'm starting to lean a lot towards like a steampunk vibe. I really enjoy like that type of aesthetic. And so when I first got into Koriko, I picked the prompt of like large machinery or like industrial type stuff. And I like designed this like metal cloud, that was like over a bunch of like fields and stuff, and that was like the way that they rained or that they watered their fields was through this metal cloud to keep it consistent and stuff. And so like it was just starting to like that was the first thing, and I'm like, man, I don't know what the heck I'm doing here, but I guess that's something that's here. And then from there I'm like, okay, I think that's the type of vibe. And so then I did a page in my sketchbook of just like designing a bunch of like silly little like steampunk like aesthetic stuff of like, here's like maybe some vibes for Koriko. I met someone in the game, the Hierophant.
Ooh.
Who I think they are the mentor figure and such.
Yeah.
And they are I believe they run like a repair shop. And so they like repair like trinkets and things like that. And that has really called to my character, especially because they are from like a village that was very like natural based, like plants and earth and things like that. So technology is very outside of their realm, or outside of her realm. And so this has been like a really big shock to her of like, I don't know what any of this is, and like you can fix it, and like what is that and what is that? And so like that's been really fun to explore. And where I left off is that there was someone protesting in town, and I can't remember what, like I was starting to like flesh out what that like looked like what in this city that so far I'm dreaming up, what would be something that people are protesting against. And I can't remember what it was, because I didn't get it actually down, but that's where I'm at. And I'm super excited because I've got lots of like threads going on, and I can't wait to start connecting things and like, all right, how is this working out?
I just wanted to hear about your game because obviously I ran Koriko AP, and I've seen other people talk about it, but it's like from a set of prompts and from like a book that just has like the same prompts for everybody playing this game, they're all going to feel so different. And already just what you were saying, I was just like, wow, that's so different from my Koriko, and I love it. But also something you just said speaks to me on such a deep level of solo gaming, which was like, I have all these threads and they're just like all around, and you have no idea how you're going to grab and how they're going to weave to make this like braid of a story by the end of it. Right. And like, just recently in my Sundered Isles season 2 that I'm doing right now, like it was like, an episode or two ago where I was like, finally, I've like grabbed 3 or 4 of these threads and I'm at least pulling them towards the same thing. Cause for a while I was like, they're going everywhere, right? But like, that's the beauty of solo games is like, if you trust the process and if you just remember to focus on those things, I honestly feel like solo gaming is a great GM tool. Like if you are a GM, play a solo game because it's going to make your storytelling with your friends so much better.
I think it's like just a fantastic tool like if you're wanting to do writing, it's a really good way to just start like experimenting with some ideas without like sitting down and having to figure out the whole story yourself. If you're wanting to GM, it's a great way to start like you're presented with random things. How do you respond? And like improving those types of storytelling skills and decision-making skills and really like fleshing out a world type skills. And like everyone also always approaches it in a different way too. And it depends on the type of solo games that you're playing. Sure. Like there are like ones that are more similar to like, choose your own adventure books. Like I have one, behind me. I think it's, what is it? The House on Sentinel Hill. Okay. It's like this, cosmic horror game book that I found one time and I'm like, I don't know, that seems cool. I'll get it. I haven't played it yet, but it's similar to like a choose your own adventure. You have like a little sheet. You make like yourself a little sheet and you have stats and stuff you like, keep track of, but like, it's more of a thing like you flip through. It's like, okay, go to this page and then you flip through and like you go to each of the pages and like, you know, something happens, but it's similar to choose your own adventure versus some other games are like journaling games and like, you then can like go towards the ones that call for you. Like, I just think it's awesome. Yeah. And there's a lot of skills that I feel like you can build in TTRPGs by playing solo games without then, you know, relying on a group to have to build them too.
Right. Not all of them are Koriko cozy vibes with journaling. Some of them are like Miru and Spencer Campbell's games, which are like actually mechanically kind of very procedural. And then there are other ones that like the Call of Cthulhu and like that game you were just talking about that are kind of choose your own adventure-y. Yep. But all of them are going to just work out your storytelling muscles in a way that's going to be beneficial.
Exactly. I love
it. Let's go to our closing questions. I always ask the same 3 questions to end every interview, and I love this first one. I can't wait to hear what you say, although I kind of jumped the gun because I asked a very similar question earlier. But Willow, do you have any last bits of wisdom, advice, or homework for people listening to this episode?
Oh gosh. You know what? Wisdom, advice, or homework? Honestly, I would encourage anyone who's listening to this episode, even if let's say you've just played D&D, and it's the only game that you've ever played. You never read through the books completely, whatever. I would encourage you to, if you have any other games on your shelf, or if you've ever heard of a game, just passively, whether it be like, an ad from Kickstarter or something you heard on a podcast, maybe, or, during this episode even, that sounded cool, I would encourage you to go pick up that game and just start reading through it. Because for me, that was a game changer. And that has really cemented TTRPGs in my life of just deciding I'm going to look at this game and learn about it. Like actually just sit down and learn about it and not just play it. And even if I don't end up playing, like I have like 50 freaking games on my shelf behind me here. I have not played all of these, but I've read about half of them because I think that's a great way to just start thinking about storytelling and mechanics and TTRPGs in so many different ways and keep your brain engaged. And I think solo games are great for that, but like not everyone wants to do that. And sometimes you just want to immerse yourself in the worlds without, having the commitment of playing them or anything like that. So I would encourage for people to read a game, read a TTRPG and see how that feels. What did you learn? What cool mechanic did you like not know how it worked at the beginning? And then like halfway through the book, you realize, oh my gosh, this is how it like fits into everything because like it's all intentional. And I think it's a really fun puzzle to solve as well as you start to read through a new system and slowly piece together how it works. So, I think that I guess that's a little bit of homework advice, encouragement to read a new thing because I think it's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
so yeah.
we've had people give homework where it's go play a new game, but I think the value of go read a game is so good, because whether or not you ever get that to the table, the process of reading a book will explain to you why the designer did it the way they did, and hopefully show you how and why they designed it in a way to provide the experience. And it might just make you go, I can approach things differently now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's also a lot easier to convince yourself to sit and read a book than it is for you to convince a whole group of people sometimes to play a game. So like, it's an easier way to start getting introduced to them.
There you go. All right. Well, next question. This is going to be a loaded one for you, very much like it would be if somebody asked me this question. Do you have any games you're excited to play or ideas you can't wait to try out at a table?
All right. Land of Eam right now is my current obsession. That's the game. Like I waited 2 years for it to arrive. I was so excited the whole time. I'm like, man, I am so anxious for this game to finally get here, and it shipped, and I'm like, So that's been like my current obsession. That's been my thing of like, I'm reading through the core book right now. I can't wait to start flipping through the sandbox setting. I have never been a setting book person. Even like pre-written campaign material, that type of stuff, I haven't gone towards to as much. Just because like, again, most of my experiences with it being D&D stuff, and those vibes and aesthetics just don't tend to call to me as much. However, Land of Eam very much calls to me. Whimsical. Adventure Time is like another like touchstone for Land of Eam very much. And the sandbox setting book is probably one of my favorite setting books that I have seen, because it just introduces all these different towns, cities, settlements, locations, all of that. And it presents here's some sights and sounds. Here are a few key NPCs. Here's some rumors that are going around town that actually have to do with the town itself. Here's some rumors that are about other places far away. Here are some quests that you can do. And here's the general vibe. Have fun. And I think that is so cool. And so like, I am really excited to, be going through Land of Eam and reading through the sandbox setting. I'm not going to read through the whole thing because it's a large book, but just flip through it and like see what it has. And like, I'm excited because I want to use it as even a way to approach my prep-in games. Because it's just the way that it lays everything out just like connects to my brain. It's like that. Oh my God, that makes so much sense. So that's something I'm super excited about. I'm super excited to play more Koriko now that I'm going to be having some more time. Because like, I want to see what this freaking protest is about. Like, what's going on there? And actually like start to get the ball moving. And hopefully I get to see this mentor figure again, because they were super cool. And I'm just excited to hopefully play an actual group TTRPG soon. I'm just kind of getting back into things after a year off, and I'm ready to just like start playing some games. And I know for me, that means I need to approach it in a way that's easy for me. So I'm going to be probably running some one-page stuff and just some one-shots. And I'm not looking to commit to a full-blown campaign, because I don't have the time for that currently, and I don't have the energy to do that at the moment. And I don't have the idea yet that like, yes, I'm ready to make this into something long term. So I'm just ready to start bouncing around and exploring some things, see what really connects. And I don't know, maybe I'll just do another game of Honey Heist again. That sounds cool.
Yeah, go lean into the shenanigans. Go back into it nice and loosey-goosey.
Exactly. Or maybe The Witch is Dead. That one's also really whack. I fought a butcher. I was a magpie, and I fought a butcher with a cleaver, and I won somehow. It was a very weird experience.
You're gonna make me go back. I'm gonna start going through my one-page RPGs just for fun now, and I'm gonna be like, oh gosh, what can I just bring to the table and be like, we're doing this just because it's gonna be done in a couple hours. And it's not a one-page RPG, but it's one that I recommend. It's a game called Definitely Wizards. I played it recently. I played it at my work. We did it in a 45-minute thing, and it was so funny. It was very funny. That and 3 raccoons in a trench coat I've brought to my work and just done. Oh, actually, we did Final Girl too. Yeah, we've done a few like just like silly. Though Final Girl is definitely not a one-page RPG, but I we did a very fast horror movie. But
that's fun.
But yeah, it is that Definitely Wizards was very funny.
It's so goofy. It's so stupid in
all
of the best ways. And the goofier, the stupider, the better for me, honestly.
Yes, right. Well, especially for one page, right? Like we're talking about vibes, right? Like if we're on that scale, a one-page RPG can be like almost a 99 on that vibe
like
just
you
mechanics
have
scale.
a die that you roll and a stat. Numbskulls is a good one of like being like the skeleton minions to a necromancer, and you're like trying to not be perceived as human or something like that. I can't remember the exact thing for it, but that one's. You know what? I think that one's going to be what I run. My younger sibling, I mean, they play in pretty much all the games that I run and stuff. They love skeletons. They love, skulls and all of that. And they have this, like, character that they made up called the Bone Man who replaces people's bones and stuff like that. And I talked about like, oh yeah, that would be a super fun game to play with you. We've never done it. I think that's the thing because I've been wanting to play that for so long. So I think that's what's going to be happening.
All right. Well, I expect an update on how that went. And, in the meantime, we'll end with our last question, which is, what do you want to pitch, and tell people where they can find you out there in internet land?
Yeah, of course. Well, honestly, I'm here to just pitch myself. I'm goofy. I'm weird. I like TTRPGs. I like talking about them. I get very intense about them. I had someone say that they were scared of me because of how intense I get. So, if you like those types of vibes.
Vibes sell it, right?
Exactly. Vibes sell it. I am vibes. I love exploring TTRPGs and introducing people to new ones. So like you can find me on TikTok, YouTube. I do sometimes pop up on Threads and Instagram. I tend to not be as like in the loop on those, but I hang out there and post cool TTRPG content where I either talk about things that I find to be really cool, like again the Land of Eam coin and economy system, which is super niche, or just introducing you to new games. And yeah, you can find me on all of those at the RPG Goblin. It's literally just the RPG Goblin on anything, which I mostly picked that name because I used to be a dice goblin, and I still am, but I have seemed to replicate the same thing with TTRPGs and just slowly collecting a very, very large amount of them. So I have a lot of stuff to talk about, and if you like my vibes and you like new games, then check me out.
Sweet. I will link all of those in the description so people can click and go follow you and all that. Woo. And what a sweet grab on the RPG Goblin. Like, well I know. Done on that. That's awesome. But thank you so much, Willow, for coming on. Absolutely. And let me know how your games go.
I will. I'm super excited to start doing some stuff.
And thank you for listening to another episode of Perspective Checks. I hope that you're excited to go try out some games that may be on your shelf, that maybe you liked the vibes of, or if you don't have them on your shelf yet, maybe go to a local game store, take a look at the shelves, and say, that one looks interesting. Pick it up, read it, give it a shot. If you want to check out Willow's TikTok and things like that she's making short-form videos and things, you can definitely check out any of the links in the description, or search for the RPG Goblin on just about any of the social medias. And you know the spiel from me. If you like what I'm doing, follow me on social medias where it's kind of bare bones, just update posts and things like that. But again, it's a great way to get in contact with me or say hi. If you want to say hi, you can either email reneplaysgamespod@gmail.com, or you should join the DMs After Dark Discord, which is linked in the description. And I was recently told the link that I've been using expires after a certain amount of time. So I'll be much better about making sure that it's a fresh link for every episode. Other than that, leave a rating and review on your podcatcher of choice if you haven't already, just to help people find me, and so we can all be bigger nerds together. And yeah, if you feel absurdly generous, there's a coffee, but no pressure. It's all good. Thanks for hanging out. And until next time, lean in on the vibes. Go all in.